You know, when it comes to Grand Theft Auto, some of the missions really just feel perfect. Good pacing, satisfying gameplay, nothing that really feels cheap, and possibly advances the plot in some way. Then you have missions that really suck with concepts and ideas the franchise continues to use till this day, even though nobody likes them. Like the spookometer, RC vehicles, races you automatically win, protecting people with retarded AI. Hated since the beginning in every iteration, do these negatives and the positives mentioned at the beginning truly define the best and worst of GTA? The time has come to find out, because in this video we're going to look at every GTA game, at least the 3D ones. I can't really get into Chinatown Wars, I'm sorry I can't, and locate the best and worst missions from every single game. That's 9 games in total. The episode games count as their own iteration. And by mission, it has to be something with a cutscene that you activate with an icon on the map. By that I mean no side missions, otherwise Paramedic would dominate the negatives. And no, it does not have to be required for 100% completion. It doesn't even have to be required for game completion. It just has to have the 2 things I mentioned, and it's fair game. So at a time when GTA is still GTA, and not located in diverse land, let's see which missions are the best, and which ones are the worst.
I see nothing but good things for you, my boy.
When it comes to GTA 3, I don't feel gameplay is the strong suit. While selecting the best mission, I assumed I'd pick something like Salvador's Call to Meeting, or Chaperone, as they managed to be entertaining without focusing heavily on the gameplay. Another contender was Bomb the Baysack because of its plot significance. It may be the mission I like the most personally, but due to the terrible aiming on the sniper rifle, depending on which version you're playing, I couldn't justify calling it the best. In the end, against all odds, I managed to find a mission that is somehow perfect, and that mission is something I don't want to pronounce. The objective is to kill Kenji, who, yes, you did previously work for, using a cartel cruiser to essentially spark a gang war, as the Yakuza would have to blame them. Donald Love has you do this to simply drive up real estate prices, leading to a real inventive mission that they would soon directly imitate in Vice City, and in this case GTA 3 is actually better for a number of reasons. Most notably, the significance is not just a random character like in Vice City, it's the brother of Azuka, who plays a pretty prominent role, and the way you do this is not like anything else. You have to run him over to avoid being spotted, and preferably escape off the ramp and leave the area. The only downside to this is finding a cartel cruiser. It can be annoying sometimes and really should be provided, but the fact that you proceed to work for Azuka after this really shows the kind of character that Claude is. In my opinion, he's nobody. He's non-existent. I don't really consider this development, but he is relevant to the plot of the game, which most missions aren't, and that's the last thing it needs to make it the best, hands down. For GTA 3 standards, it's about as good as it gets.
You useless bastard!
And when it comes to picking the worst mission in GTA 3, there were definitely a lot of contenders, like the tedious task of collecting 3 gang vehicles, and possibly being one-shotted by the Mafia, Rigged to Blow, which is drive for a long time slowly without taking damage, Escort Service, essentially just that, but the one I'm choosing is something you probably didn't think about, that somehow manages to do everything wrong. The mission is Uzi Rider, a phone booth mission for King Courtly, which is probably the worst mission strand in the game collectively. The objective is to drive to Portland in a Perennial, the favorite vehicle of nobody, take 2 gang members with you who contribute
You do the driving and the shooting and the Dailly and the boot.
nothing, kill a bunch of Diablos without losing the vehicle. If you do, you fail and drive all the way back. It's kind of like another mission for Kenji that isn't that good either, but at least that one threw in some comedy to make it somewhat memorable, but this one is just annoying for no good reason. Nothing new is being done here, the gang members do nothing, the fact that you have to use a shitty vehicle is just stupid, and the end result is a good reason to just skip this mission strand. None of them are really that good, and as a reward, you get an additional gang trying to kill you who reside right next to ammunition. So, best just avoid these.
Wait, does that mean what I think it means? Tommy, baby! What do you...
Moving on to Vice City, one of my personal favorites, it's not an easy task picking the best mission. I did consider the job as it's one of the first real heist missions. In fact, It is the first, but a lot of it is surprisingly dull, and the escape at the end is kind of cheap. I do love the mission Death Row when you rescue Lance. All Hands on Deck is pretty damn epic. G-Spotlight is one of the most unique. Lots and lots of contenders, but in the end, it has to be rub out. It may just be a lot of shooting, but in Vice City that's okay. The shooting mechanics do work in this game, and it's really just the significance of this mission. It comes right after Death Row when you rescue Lance, and in Rub Out, you break into Diaz's mansion, shoot your way through countless guards, and finish off Diaz with one of the game's most epic lines.
I would have had you made! Say goodnight, Mr. Diaz.
After this, the mansion becomes yours, and the next stage of the game truly begins as you start obtaining properties and building an empire. It's the significance of this mission that makes it the best for me. It has an epic feel that I much prefer to the real final mission, and Diaz is honestly a much better antagonist than Sonny anyway, so watching Tommy and Lance execute him is truly one of the game's highlights. One of my favorite moments in any GTA game, the execution is flawless, so all things considered, it's the best.
Oh, you stupid, sniveling snot.
And then we have the worst of Vice City, and there's not a whole lot of it. A mission I always used to hate was Copland, because escaping the police with a high wanted level and having to keep somebody safe is complete luck-based bullshit, but simply using a helicopter to escape alleviates this frustration, and is simply too obvious. You have to look at the tailing missions, as there's 2 of them and they both really suck. But there is a less talked about mission in this game that is kind of broken. That being Dirty Lickens. It's one of 3 missions you do for the Haitian leader, as Tommy's been drugged oddly enough. And while it's definitely not the finest strand in the game, this one simply doesn't work. You have to shoot a bunch of Cubans with a sniper rifle, so they'll lose a fist fight. And even if you're playing on a version that doesn't have terrible aiming, it still doesn't work. It's almost impossible to do what the game wants you to do with the given time. The Cubans move around way too much, and once they send backup, you almost have to cheat to win. Luckily, as long as you stay on the roof, you can do whatever you want. Rocket launchers, shotguns, it all goes. But it's very likely the player is not going to think of that, as the game gives you a rifle. And I know it's still possible, but the difficulty of this does not feel thought out. Oddly enough, the Definitive Edition is actually better for this one, as the aiming is usable in that version, and the pill that slows down time, which I highly advise you use to cheat this, is put in a different spot in that version, ensuring you don't miss it. It's almost like even the Definitive Edition knew this mission sucked, and did everything they could to make it easier. It's one of the few times I feel this game is outright busted. Definitely not the most tedious thing, but I can't excuse the fact that this somehow got made.
Oh, I drank to that.
With San Andreas, you've always got to answer the big question, what mission do you like more than the final mission? I mean, there is the big heist, which is real good, but I have to admit it is somewhat formulaic. The game does have a lot of epic missions like Black Project, Vertical Bird, the whatever this says, probably all favorites of somebody, and the answer to the big question is none of the above. Yes, End of the Line is the best mission in GTA San Andreas. For me, and I really don't know what else you could want. I'm not just saying that, this truly has everything. Shootouts that aren't remotely unfair, a driving section that becomes an on-rail shooter, using a SWAT tank to break in, escaping an exploding building, and having some of the most memorable dialogue the game has to offer.
Look at you, you got the whole world. I ain't got no regrets, man. Smoke, you had. I made it, CJ. I'm a success. I can't be touched. When I'm gone, everyone gonna remember my name. Big Smoke. Oh. Damn.
I really don't see how any other mission in the game tops this, and to be honest, it may be my favorite, period. I mean, up until GTA 5, definitely. That's still the best game, I don't care what the online mode did. And yes, there is that one real annoying section when you have to catch Sweet, but if you just stay in the right lane, you'll be fine, as he always comes back, thus avoiding hitting another vehicle. And even if you do fail, you are given a checkpoint, so even that can't be considered a flaw. For these reasons, I don't see putting anything above this. It's the perfect way to conclude the game. Maybe the best in the series for me, may not be a perfect game like many call it, but the finale definitely is.
How you like that, you piece of shit? That give you any idea how edgy I am?
So at this point, you're probably expecting one of those spookometer missions. This game has some of the worst ones, like driving slowly across Las Venturas, or following a train all the way back to Los Santos, and beyond. Terrible missions, no doubt, but at least the latter allows you to move quickly, and Key to Her Heart does have a somewhat memorable conclusion. You may also be expecting supply lines, obviously, and while I'm not gonna say it's good or anything, it's still not the worst thing in the game. No, that has to go to 555, we tip.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
You may have forgotten what this is, and I couldn't blame you, but there is nothing of remote quality to be found here, and it comes right after another extremely boring mission. At least that one was your intro to San Fierro, so it has some kind of excuse. But this, I don't know who thought this up. The only remotely interesting thing you do is kill a valet to get their outfit, and after that, you wait and wait and wait some more, longer than you should ever have to. Eventually, you'll get the car you're supposed to plant the weed in, that's the reasoning for this bullshit, and then you drive back to the garage. So far, it wouldn't be that bad, it'd be a dull mission you have to get over and done with, but then you're given a timer and told you can't damage the vehicle, meaning one little mistake and you have to repeat all that tedium again. There is no challenge to this whatsoever. The payoff is just another boring cutscene. The opening scene is kind of funny, I'll give it that.
I don't give a fuck if it kills you, me, my brother. Street cats don't call no cops.
Carl, he's a DA.
Oh, yeah? Well, where I go find him?
And I can say without any regret, I'm glad the Definitive Edition nerfed this. Yeah, you're given a checkpoint, so that immediately fixes this, and I believe you get a bit more time. Either way, I'd rather do anything than this. Even supply lines is more fun than this tedious nonsense. Probably not what you're thinking, but there's just nothing to this.
Hey, I'm the boss now. Me.
I consider LCS, and DCS for that matter, to be very underrated games. Likely a result of originally being PSP games, and I can definitely say that I prefer Liberty City Stories to GTA 3. Kind of a bold statement, but I just don't think GTA 3 is that good. This game, on the other hand, has a lot of real good missions that never get talked about, but again, it's the ones of the epic nature that stand out the most. Like driving Mr. Leone, the Portland Chainsaw Masquerade. I definitely thought about going with Bringing the House Down, as you blow up a whole city block, but in the end, my favorite has to be Cash in Kazuki's Chips. The mission sees, you guessed it, Tony setting out to kill Kazuki, and a lot of Yakuza in the process, as he's aware of what Tony's been doing and plans on killing him. This works as a climax to the mission strand that for the most part is pretty good, but the final mission is definitely the best, giving us an exciting conclusion. I especially like the dialogue when Tony confronts Kazuki.
I am going to enjoy thrusting my sword into you.
Yeah, I heard that about you.
A bit confused to why they shoot at you anyway, engaging in a sword fight isn't really an option, but it's a great ending to the storyline nonetheless, and the cutscene that follows is one of the most memorable in the game, but we can't talk about that because YouTube. Just another standout moment in a game that really should get some kind of re-release to get the attention it truly deserves. You know, just do it the right way this time. Then again, Rockstar clearly doesn't give a shit about these games, so maybe I shouldn't ask that.
Go and show these sinners the error of their ways.
Then again, if it means getting shit like this, maybe the game should be left alone. Nah, not really, but taking the piece is a mission that may have seemed good on paper, but the result is something that thankfully never again appeared. Not much needs to be said about this, it's about as bad as it looks. Similar to Spookometer, no toy vehicle missions made the list, if you can believe that, but this definitely reminds me a lot of that, only a lot worse. It controls terribly, success can be completely luck-based, there are other missions that are not good in this game for various reasons, but none stand out as much as this. Oddly enough, Vice City Stories has something a lot like this, but that one is actually kind of fun and unique, while this isn't even memorable aside from being a pain in the dick. It looks awful, it feels awful, and I don't need to look any further.
It's all cool, bro. I'm a man with a plan.
The completely underrated Vice City Stories, again, has a lot of great missions. In the Air Tonight, when you protect Phil Collins, featuring his name and likeness, is beyond memorable. From Zero to Hero is one of the most epic missions that unlocks a new island. The hilarious White Lies, the unique So Long Shalong. So many examples of why you should not sleep on this game, but still the best one has to be Light My Pyre. That's for a number of reasons. It's an epic mission, maybe the most impactful in the game. In fact, it definitely is. And coming so close to the end, it gives you everything this kind of mission should. It opens with having you protect lands, it has lots of shooting that's respectfully difficult, and it concludes with what is somewhat of a boss fight against the Mendes brother Armando, who is wielding a fucking flamethrower. The storyline of this game is so underrated, it's honestly one of the best, and this mission is the most memorable for that reason. Not only do you take out a main antagonist, but in the end, Louise ends up dying in one of the few sad scenes in this GTA era.
That's sweet of you.
Hey, come on, let's get you to a hospital.
I don't think there's much point in that.
You add on Lance's dialogue at the end, along with what Vic says in the final mission, and you have what is easily one of the best GTA missions. I never expected the game to have anything like this. It may be a result of a protagonist that doesn't really fit GTA, but I have to look at it for what it is, and Light My Pyre is easily one of the best.
But I think, for our friendship, this is the end.
So what could the worst mission be? Not a whole lot to choose from, but a slight issue with this game that no other 3D game has is the wanted level system. If you get 5 stars in this game, you're basically fucked. You will not last that long, so the mission turn on, tune in, bug out is essentially broken. The premise is simple, Lance is a fucking idiot, so you've got to destroy some antennas. It's a good idea for a mission, but the problem is as you destroy them, your wanted level gradually goes up, eventually giving you 5 stars. If the game just let you get back to the estate, that'd be one thing, but you have to lose the stars, meaning you must abandon the helicopter. And unless you know where to find the police bribes, which I recommend you do, it's basically down to luck. If you can get to the pay and spray without hitting a blockade, you'll be fine, but if you can't, it's probably the end. This may be one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like this game. Making the cops this aggressive was completely pointless, and having it play into a mission was just a bad idea. It's too bad because the opening cutscene is hilarious.
Will you shut up, you stupid gorilla? The place is bombed! The DA is on to us! Happy now!
And I also love how Vic puts the rocket launcher on Lance's tab, some nice detail right there. But there is no getting past how frustrating and cheap this is, so for a game without that many bad missions, this has to be the worst one.
Nikolai, I like your resume. You seem to be the sort of man who would go the extra distance.
Okay, so everybody knows the best mission in GTA 4 is 3-Leaf Clover. It's the epic bank heist, the first one ever to play out like this, and despite being an amazing mission, it's not my favorite.
Is this a joke?
Look, aside from the fact that GTA 5 has several heist missions that have this one beat, get over it, I just don't feel it's the best thing in this game, though it is very close, and for whatever reason, it's not as impactful to me as it should be. I always felt that it came a bit too soon and didn't leave a big enough impact, but the mission that, at least to me, felt perfect is Diamond's our girl's best friend. This concludes the Diamond subplot, at least for this game, and I do wish they could have done a bit more with Luis Lopez, but in my case, it's the one I enjoy the most. I don't completely know why, maybe it's the layout, perhaps the build-up to this? It could have something to do with me not loving GTA 4 that much, and this feeling like a standout moment, but whatever the reason is, it's still a perfect mission. The not very good controls don't affect the gameplay here that much, that can't be said in this game often. The diamonds ending up in a dump truck is a nice bit of comedy, especially if you know how this game truly ends, and the dialogue we get at the end is a perfect way to end this off.
These diamonds have been trouble since Ray first made me take them out of a trash can for him. It's good they are on their way to a landfill somewhere.
This will be agreed with by nobody, but I'm not the average GTA 4 fan. I'm not a GTA 4 fan, so it is what it is.
We're here in America now, and I should be thinking about my life here. My life, which is ruined.
You know, for a game that's way too long to begin with, I don't know why they give you so many tutorial missions teaching you things you'll never use. Bull in a china shop is one of these. There's no reason to ever pick something up in this game and throw it. Better to just shoot the glass, they do allow that. But while that may be one pointless mechanic, there's another mission that has two. Clean Getaway, a nice title, I'll give it that, had the fucking gall to introduce two things that you'll never use again in this game. The first one being a subway. You've already been introduced to taxi, so it's utterly pointless, and once you get through waiting for that, along with an opening cutscene that's too long, you'll finally get to do something and steal the intended vehicle that, get this, desperately needs washing. Luckily they implemented a car wash. A car wash, because I guess vehicles getting dirty is a thing in this game? I mean, maybe it is. Due to the game's gray palette, you wouldn't know, but keep in mind, nothing else happens in this mission. There's no catch to this, you get the car washed, and you pass. This exists to introduce two things you'll never use again, and for a game that definitely has more than one bad mission, this one still stands out the most because of how pointless it is. Don't know if they felt the game had to be longer? If so, well done. But this really is something you just want to get over with. It provides no quality whatsoever, nothing in terms of challenge, and aside from its clever title, no reason to exist.
You're very willful.
Was very willful, Chad. Was very willful. I've changed. And you know what, Chad? You changed me.
So, the Lost in the Damned expansion is probably my least favorite of any 3D game, largely due to the fact that it doesn't offer anything that memorable. Yeah, a few missions here and there stand out, but the only one that really ever felt unique to me was the final mission, Get Lost. Now, I may prefer the Ballad of Gay Tony in almost every way, but the final mission is the exception when you break into the state prison for the purpose of killing the previous club president, Billy Gray. A lot of things stand out to make this real memorable, one of which being the unique idea. The concept of breaking into a jail just to kill somebody is not something seen too often, but the fact is Billy really did deserve it. He's one of the most deplorable antagonists of any GTA game, and this is the game with Brian in it, so watching him finally get his comeuppance is one of the game's highlights.
Come on!
The way you arm up on the way in, the epic escape on the bikes, and the conclusion to the game that still counts as part of this mission. The first time I ever saw it, I knew it was the best thing the game had to offer. Again, the Ballad of Gay Tony is way, way better, but it doesn't have anything quite like this. It fits the game's tone perfectly, a tone I'm glad the franchise abandoned later, but for what it is, it couldn't have been a better ending.
Yes, well, you've got a bit of a problem there, sport.
And for the worst, I don't have a whole lot. Most of these missions aren't bad, just not memorable, and the worst one has to be the one that could have been real memorable. That is, off route, for the simple purpose of having you liberate a prison bus and not doing anything with that concept. You have to escape the cops with 3 stars, not the most fun thing to do with a somewhat slow vehicle. That can't be resprayed, and while GTA 4 may have a better wanted level system than GTA 5, one of the only things it did better, it still doesn't make this remotely fun. The potential was endless, one of them was literally a cannibal, but you just escape and that's it. When I realized that's all the mission has you do, my opinion on the game immediately dropped even lower, and it just goes to show GTA 5 is far superior, as it would never introduce a concept like this and not do anything with it. Not a whole lot else to say about it, it's a waste of potential, and that's about it.
And me? I make girls wince. Wince.
Okay, so the Ballad of Gay Tony stands out as the best game with GTA 4 in the title. That's right. And maybe the most action-packed. I say that because the expansion is not that long, and very few missions are nothing but a pure joy to play. That made picking the best one real hard, lots of shit being blown up, lots of helicopters. Sexy time was a standout for me, for simply destroying a ship and watching it sink. But for not any particular reason, I decided to go with For the Man Who Has Everything. Because just look at it. Yeah, the game is full of exciting, crazy missions, but nothing quite like this. You're riding on a subway train, fending off helicopters, all kinds of shit being blown up, and the reason you do this is because Yusuf wants to fly a subway car out to the Gulf to be used as a decoration.
Aside from how fucking dumb that sounds, how am I supposed to take that thing?
This perfectly defines what this game is about. There's lots of crazy, stupid missions like this. It really was GTA getting back to what GTA is. Unfortunately, I don't know what the future holds, it's questionable. But if they would only focus on stuff like this, I don't think we'd have too many complaints. It's fun all the way through, it stands out despite being in a game full of memorable missions. Choosing the best one wasn't easy, but I guess it has to be this. Nothing else quite like it, so you really can't go wrong.
I knew how disgraceful you were, but I didn't realize quite how shameful you were.
I'll be honest, I'm not mad about this, but by default there has to be a worst mission, so it comes down to the two that don't have you do anything. Those being Blog This and Ladies Half Price. Obviously, Ladies Half Price is more story relevant, but for me, that's why I end up picking that, as in my opinion, it makes it more disappointing. Ironic, as it's my favorite mission in GTA 4. You know, that version of it. But that's for obvious reasons. In this case, you don't do anything but leave, and it's the only thing about this game that kind of disappoints. I wish they thought of something better. This only exists for story purposes. I can't get mad about it too much given how great this game is, but still, it's the weakest moment. I wish I had more to say, but I just don't. If you haven't played the game yet, please do. Because aside from this, it's still the best thing the GTA 4 title has to offer. Again, that's right.
Oh. Fucking A.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Well, we're finally here. How do I pick the best GTA 5 mission? Well, it's gotta be a heist. Yeah, despite all kinds of amazing reasons why GTA 5 is still the best game, despite what anybody says, the heist missions are still the highlight. It primarily comes down to 3, as one does kind of suck, and another is just not as good. And honestly, it could have been any of those 3. But, and I don't really like to keep going here, when the final mission, or almost final mission, brings together everything that made the game great, offers all kinds of different gameplay styles, it has to be the best. Yeah, that's right, it's the big score. Regardless of what option you pick, what decisions you make, the gameplay variety gives it the edge. You probably have to play both options at some point to get the full picture, but the combination of shooting, driving, flying, blowing shit up, unique gameplay, memorable cutscenes, epic set pieces, and comedy only this game can pull off, there is simply nothing else like it, and for GTA 5, that's definitely saying something. The fact that they could still save the best for last, well, almost last, shows off how great this game is. And at the end of the day, I think the big question is this my favorite GTA mission? Well, I don't really know.
Shocking.
This and End of the Line perfectly end off the respective game, so picking the true favorite mission is near impossible. On one hand, I should go with San Andreas for fitting it all into one mission, but then again, I do prefer GTA 5's gameplay and the 3-character dynamic. I simply can't decide right now, but it doesn't matter, as simply putting them both together has surely pissed off somebody. The big score is amazing, maybe the best ever, not a single thing wrong with it. Yeah, you may hate what this game's become, but you can't deny how amazing this is. If GTA 6 somehow tops this, I'd be somewhat impressed.
Namaste. Nah, man, go fuck yourself.
I know what you're thinking. The only remotely reasonable option is scouting the port. Nobody till this day can understand why they felt the need to make you do this. It's the only mission in the game that's truly boring. It's a pain to get through. Even the heist it leads up to isn't that good. But, just hear me out, it's not the worst thing in this game. If you recall at the beginning, I said for a mission to qualify, it must have a mission marker and contain a cutscene. If it's completely skippable, that's okay, and this is where that comes in. The Epsilon program missions are the most tedious things you'll do in any GTA game, at least with a cutscene. Yes, they are well hidden, you have to sign up online to play them, but after that they're given mission markers, they do have cutscenes, so in the end they still qualify. Now, keep in mind, most of these are not that terrible. They're not fun, but easy enough to get through. It's just the fact that one of these goes above and beyond to be the worst mission in the franchise. That's right, this game may not have the undoubtedly best mission, but it has the worst one, period. That is, exercising the truth. Why is this, you may ask? Well...
But first, you must wear your medal and your attire and run 5 miles through the desert.
5 miles. Run 5 miles through the desert, which takes approximately 20 minutes. 20 minutes of fucking nothing. Are you satisfied? Keep in mind, you still have to do this for 100% completion, and this game made an effort to make things less tedious, like not making you do all the stunts and stuff like that, having a lot of optional stuff. But this has a cutscene. This has a plot woven into it, and your objective is to spend 20 minutes doing nothing. For that very reason, it is the worst mission in this game. It is the worst mission in GTA history. It is simply the worst. Granted, that's only because GTA 5 felt the need to add cutscenes to stuff like this. Honestly, nothing is as bad as the paramedic missions, but that doesn't change how tedious this is. The whole mission strand completely sucks, but this is easily the worst. And that concludes the best and worst missions in every GTA game. I may have spent more time on the worst ones because that's what you get from me, and if you don't agree, you can let me know in the comments section down below. I'm sure End of the Line is the undoubtedly best mission, no question about it, and a lot of my negative choices like Dirty Lickens and Off Route probably never occurred to you, but in the end, that's just the way it is. I am the Game Analyst, and don't forget, what is truly the best cannot be defined through fact and reasoning. But 20 minutes of nothing is bullshit. Oh, what? You're actually here? That's fucking amazing. I guess you may as well check out the main channel, in which I discuss movies, TV series, and the offensive topics that lie within. If you're into that, then press the link in the description. It's right there.